Right. Well, starting a project, and I'm starting the project by reclaiming this old sample panel. And you guys will notice that these are the same swatches of gold, well, aluminum, copper, white, and 24 karat gold, but I wanted to do another, what do you call it? I want to do another video using the Spinster and the powder lines tool, and just instead of doing samples, do art. So I'm using this piece of 600 to wet sand off and reclaim this panel. I'm not anywhere around my D8, or I would be using that. So we're just gonna have to go Amish with it for a little bit and churn this butter by hand. So when this is done, it'll be sanded in 6, and then I'm gonna start working the design out on the computer. I want to do that, like sometimes to just jump right into it and see where it takes you, but I'm going to give this one some thought. That way the video, when it's complete, it'll have a couple of different techniques involved. I can show you guys, I can show you the plotter, I can show you the electropounce, and working in Illustrator, and try to bring as many lessons to bear on this as possible. But right now, this is the first one. Wet sanding, and this gold was uncleared. It's just this panel's been laying around ever since I started marketing the Spinster, and link in the description. So I just decided to get it back. It's a nice, 16 by maybe 30 inches, and I can use it basically just creating more marketing and trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Got a couple of lessons in, and this one here is prepping the surface. This black panel, it's been painted and it's been cleared, and it's got enough clear on it that it can withstand 600 grit without breaking through the clear. I've sanded this one multiple times. I wouldn't do this with your I wouldn't sand your car with this stuff. Factory clear is probably so thin. Just one good swipe, a couple good swipes with the 600, and it's gonna break through. But that's the lesson for today, is wet sanding, reclaiming your old metal. Okay, in this portion of the video, what I've got going on here is I'm working in Clip Studio Paint, which I prefer to Photoshop. I do use Photoshop for some things, but Clip Studio Paint has a much better, how do you want to call it? I like the way that it responds better. It feels more natural when I'm using my Wacom tablet. So I want to basically sketch out the way my the way this type is going to go before I go to path it out and run it through the vinyl cutter, making my my ink template, and I'll be burning the holes in it with the electropounce. So but basically what's happening here is I'm deciding on it's not just doing it, but how I want it to look. Do I want these letters to be super thick, because I've got a lot of gold that I'm going to want to put in here? If I'm going to be showcasing the Spinster tool, then I'm going to want to have some space to work on. I don't want the letters to be so thick and so bulky that they're hard to read, or they lack I don't know, they look too fat or whatever. But like for instance, this portion of the N right here, these need to stay consistent. So this is kind of like I wouldn't say like a wrestling match, but it's a kind of a tug of war. What portion of the word is going to be upstaging another, and just kind of making it flow and giving each area giving it some nice balance. So since I've got some space here that I can use in this here like baseball tail. That's how I want to make sure that I get enough gold in there so that I can showcase the tool. It wouldn't make any sense to throw down something that's like super skinny, and I could use font. There's tons of different fonts and stuff that are like a nice like a script, and like kind of manipulate it that way, but then it's going to end up lacking that that human aspect. And I'm still trying to figure out exactly what it is. I feel like I want this S tail to come through here and cross that T, but I don't know, I'm kind of still up in the air on some of this stuff. There's still a lot of refining to do. So after this, what will happen is I will export this into Illustrator, and I'll take the pen tool, which I don't think this pen tool is the same. Is it? Oh, and they got me doing. Yeah, this is like a drawing pen tool. I use this pencil. Okay, so I'll bring this into Illustrator, and then I will apply the plot points and the curves, and that is the file format that the vinyl cutter understands. So I put a pen tool instead of not a pen tool, but actually a pen attachment rather than a blade, and I put in a roll of paper instead of a roll of vinyl, and it will write, draw those pen lines where it would normally cut vinyl. It'll draw that on there. I don't want to use a vinyl mask for this. I want to be able to paint, actually hand letter this onto the metal, and then apply the gold, and then use the Spinster and impress the hell out of everybody. So this will continue to be refined. I'll keep making decisions on this stuff and see yank and pull and whatever, and even inside Illustrator it'll even be further refined rather, and then before long we'll have a working template. So there it is. Next step, Illustrator, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, everybody, it is on to the vector graphic portion of the lesson. Let's get started. We're going to be dealing with three main tools: the selection tool, hotkey V. Hotkey is what you hit on your keyboard if you want to change it. Your tool to direct select, say A. You can see right here I hit the A and I am the direct select tool. Okay. If I want the select tool, I hit V. If I want the pen tool, I hit P. Okay. Now, I like to work with precise cursors, so my default cursor is right there. Is the precise cursor. Almost every tool in this toolbox here has a hotkey corresponding with it. Okay. Most of them, and like I said, almost every. The puppet warp tool doesn't. Width tool does, and some of these I full disclosure, I don't even use all of them. I mainly use Illustrator for vectors and blends, and working things out to do Final Cut graphics and create templates and things like that. So just a real quick aside, any one of these tools that you see that has a little arrow in the bottom right hand of the icon means that there's more there. So you hold it down and it'll show you the other tools. We'll say like we have free transform tool, and they all have their their uses. Okay, but these are the three that we're going to be working with today: the V direct tool, or the selection tool, direct selection tool A, and the pen tool. Okay, now your left hand on the keyboard is probably going to be doing more work than your mouse hand. Your command key is what switches from your pen tool temporarily to your direct select tool, and that is very important for manipulating nodes and nodes and handles. So just real fast, click and drag to get your curve started, to get your Bezier curve started. And you can see Illustrator likes to give you a little head start what it's going to do with the curve depending on where you put your next node, and then change it as you figure out where you want to let go of the mouse. Okay, now if I want to go from a curved line to a straight line, I simply, instead of clicking and dragging, I just click, and then the next line that comes out will be a straight line, and every line after that until I decide to drag, click and drag. Okay, and that gives me, those are the two differences of laying down nodes for Illustrator, for your pen tool. Hitting Command is going to give you your direct select tool. That allows you to select a node, okay, without, as the selection tool would do, without selecting the whole shape. Okay, if I clicked on this with the select tool, I move the whole thing. If I click on one of these nodes, I just kind of float over where my where the nodes are. Click on it and float over where the nodes are, and I can move just one of these at a time. Okay, now holding down the Shift key allows you to select multiple of these, so you can move 3 at a time. You can also, and this is assuming that your main image is locked in place, Command 2. Okay, you'll notice real quick, you'll notice that this blue line goes away. And over here in the Layers palette, our image is selected. This, clicking on this in the Layers palette, selects all of this. But we don't want that. Click into that little radio button, selects everything here, and you can see this blue line all around there. That's the actual image. So we want to lock that. Command 2, and watch what happens here. It locks up. Alright, so now we can't move it or manipulate it. That makes things a little bit easier when you're trying to select stuff and you end up clicking on the image in the back, and you're like, no, I didn't want to do that, and you gotta undo and try to be more precise. So dragging a box with the direct select tool also lets you select multiple nodes, especially if you know where they are. There's 2 there, so you select those 2. There's 2 here, so you select those 2. Move that around same way. When you have the direct select tool on a handle, it will only move the one handle in and out, but it will also keep the I don't want to say balance, but it will keep them so that you're manipulating both handles at the same time. Okay, so if I select this handle, I can stretch it out one way or the other, but I'm also manipulating the other curve on the other side. If I want to not do that, right next to the Command key, if I'm on the pen tool, right next to the Command key is the Option key, and this is the, what's it called? Anchor Point tool, Shift C. But right now we've got our hotkey, or we've got our Option key down here. So I can grab this handle and I can move just it, and that's all. Okay, that'll give me a nice corner point there. let's say, for instance, I don't want to do that, or I've got a portion of the artwork that I want to make smooth. Well, I click on that and drag, and lo and behold, I've got symmetrical handles, okay, and they're dual manipulating. You see, just like before. I move one curve, I move another curve. Now, I think for the most part that's it. There is, of course, if you want to use the direct select tool, you can select on a curve and move the curve itself. It doesn't have to be on a node. You don't have to grab handles. You can move just pieces. You can move these lines here. You can move this one here, and you can see, because it's got that little symbol, 2 points and a curve in between on the cursor there. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to start pathing out this S, and if anything else comes to me, I'll try to catch it. Okay, so I'm holding down the Shift key to give myself a constraint to a 90 or a 45. Okay. Oh, this actually does remind me of something. I'm going to delete that. Here we have our layer image locked. Okay, we can either hit Command Option 2 to unlock that, or we can just come over here and, what am I doing? Lock it or unlock it. And the reason we want to do that is this. First, select it, go to the transparency palette, and let's drag this down so that we can better see what we're doing. Layers, Command 2, or lock here, lock. Okay. So Command 2, lock. We'll go back up here to layer 1 where our stuff is. Can't select anything. There's nothing there yet. We deleted it. So, and we also lost our color. So click on that twice, two clicks. We'll get our red back, and we can make this line a little bit thicker, although it's easier to see what's happening now that now that we've added some transparency to this layer and weakened the black, so you can see a lot more clearly. And we'll just kind of go around this S at our leisure. You can add as many nodes as you want. I like to kind of keep them down so that you don't end up with things like this, where you're like, oh, that's terrible. It's not super symmetrical or whatever, and you have to go back and fix it. In fact, I like to do as little as possible. I'll start up at the very top, give myself a constrained drag, click and drag, and then possibly bring this out here, because what you don't want is a ton of nodes giving you a it promotes having a wavy look to stuff. You want to let the computer do the really nice smooth curves on its own. It's better at that than we are. So I let it do all that heavy lifting. Right. Okay, this is going to come back later, so let's. I already decided I wanted this shape to have a point right here and not over here, so. And I already have one of these things finished. I'm not going to do the whole thing. That's going to take up too much time. I just want to give you the basics of these few things and show you a couple of things in Illustrator, and then I'll move on to getting the pen attachment on the vinyl cutter to make the template. Okay, so here's something I want you to notice. When you lay your pen tool over an ending node like this one, not here on the line, it's going to be a plus. Over here on a node, it's going to give you a minus. But if you're on an open-ended one, which we are, you'll see that slash, that straight line. And that means that if you click on this, it's going to take away the option to make a curve, and then every line after that will be straight, unless you click and drag. Same thing here. I want to be able to put a corner on this. And I want this corner, I want this to be nice and smooth with the least amount of nodes possible. Yeah, I know some people use Illustrator for so many different things, but it is almost, I mean, last time I checked, last time I did any embroidery, you are not getting any embroidery digitized without a vector graphic program. Vector graphics are the shit. Your vinyl cutters cut with a with a vector graphic. I mean, that's what this is. This is a set of instructions to tell the blade on a vinyl cutter to follow this path, and that includes making this crossover right here, which we're going to eliminate in just a little bit. Okay, once we get this S finished here, just like this. All right. Now I want this to be one solid shape, otherwise the pen's going to draw through here. And although I'll be able to then further decide whether I want to burn holes through this area using the electro pounce or not, it's still not necessary to do. So we'll go over to not align. Where are we at? I gotta find my these things, they end up becoming so cramped. Bring the layers down, transform, blah blah blah. Pathfinder, there it is. Now here, there's a couple of options. This is the one that we want. We want to make this one giant shape and combine these things. So we click on that and, well, it does that. It's not a group. It's one, you know, like a. It's not like a dime on top of a coin. This is like a hole in a donut. So when we switch this color from stroke color to fill color, you'll see it knock that piece out. Now the next one that we want to do, and I'm not even going to do the whole P here just for time's sake. Okay, we're going to make an offset path so that we can trim this tail. Then I might decide that I want to drag this whole thing out. So I grab the direct select tool and I'm pulling a node. Now I could select the select tool and pull the whole thing, and that's fine as well. But what if I want to use the direct select tool and pick everything? Well, I simply hold down the Option key. That's not right. I hold down the Shift key and I can pick one or more nodes. No, well, it's not what we want to do either. Whoops. Sorry guys, I'm a little mixed up here. Okay, yeah, we hit the, you see that plus sign? We hit the Command and Option key and you get that little plus. That means you pick everything, all of the nodes at once by clicking on one node. Now here's something else that's interesting. If you do that and you click back on it, now look at the cursor there, it's got the one copy behind it. You made a copy. Okay, so we can do the same thing, and as soon as you start click on it and as soon as you start dragging it away, you're making a copy. Now hold down the Shift key. The Shift key, you're constraining it to being going up, down, left, right, or diagonal. And that's, to me, that's pretty cool. So let's get rid of those real quick and move on to the thing that we were talking about before. We're going to go from object, because that's what this is. The path of the object is what we're trying to manipulate. We're going to click Offset Path. An Offset Path panel comes up, and we click on Preview to see what 0.1 inches away from this object is. Now what we could do is hit Command R to give us some rulers, to give us an idea of, actually in real life how big this is. And I believe on this monitor, if we go down here to where it says 100%, if I want to see it at actual size, I think 133% on the monitor is a little bit closer to 1 inch, or at least on my Apple monitor it is. So I might try something like that, and this is really how big it's going to be. And it doesn't matter, we can change all that later. It's the beauty of vector graphics. Make it bigger, make it smaller, it never loses resolution. So we're going to go and we're going to do that offset path. Bing. Okay. If I want it to be 0.1 inches to the inside, I simply put a negative in front of that. I hit preview and it goes to the inside. But we don't want to. We want it to go to the outside. So we'll make it a positive. Make it go to the outside. And then we're going to trim. Now this object here that we have, this, we'll just color it red so we can see it. I want to cut something out from in here, from this. Now since, and what we're going to find in our layers, since this object is above this compound shape, the S with the tail, we're going to go to the Pathfinder, and we're going to use this second one here, minus front. So we have to have both of these selected, what we're trimming with, what we're trimming. We click on that, and then we find this space right there. Okay, and I'll show you, and the one that I've already have finished, why it is I'm doing that. So if I wanted to, let's say for instance, we won't move the layers around, but I'll give you an idea. I've got the group. It's calling itself a group now because it's two different parts. But I can select this group. I can hit Command 8 and make it a compound path so that it's seen as one whole shape. If I didn't want to do that, I could ungroup this, Command Shift G, Command G being group, and then I could select each one of these individually. Okay. Now let's say for instance I want to chop something out of this shape, and this shape is on top. You can see here this path, it's selected, it's up here, and this path down here, it's behind it. Well, how do I minus the front if this one is, I can either move this up above that path, select these two and use the same right there, or I could move that out of the way, select these two, and then go down here to minus back and get the same thing. These are a lot of fun to mess with. But for the purposes of this lesson, on this basically it's just a scrap file because I've already got one finished. And we'll put this away, and I'll show you what it is that I was going for. And we can manipulate this. Once you get rid of the sketch in the back and you can really see how everything's weighted and balanced and stuff like that, then you can kind of go in and say like, I don't know, maybe I want to move this N away from the S. So you grab this here, up here, lasso tool, and get a little fancy. So you can hit the direct select tool and grab all these, but I can't grab these two without grabbing something over here that I don't want to move around. So I hit Q. Let's see, yeah, it looks like a lasso regularly, but I like, again, I like the precise cursors. And I can kind of squeeze in here and go, I want to go around this node and this node, but I don't want to touch anything else, and I want just the end. So I'll grab this, and then I can use the arrow keys to nudge it over and give that S a little bit more space. I can use the direct select tool to move this down a little bit and keep this up swoop a little more, what would you call it, narrow, more slender, and make out like just little tweaks like that, and save it. I wonder if you can hear that hard drive spinning up over the microphone. This is actually an older computer. I've upgraded the video card, but I'm gonna hate getting rid of it. And there is gonna be a time where I have to do that, and there's no way around it. The only other computer is actually the one that runs the vinyl cutter, and it hasn't hit the bed yet, so I don't get rid of it. Anyways, that's the lesson here, and the next thing that we're going to see is we're going to bring this file over to the other Mac that's running the vinyl cutter, and we're going to make our mask, or template rather. So see you over there in a second. Okay, so what we're looking at here is a Lynx 24-inch vinyl cutter. I've had it for years. It runs on OS 9, and that is why I have an ancient Mac running this thing. And so far so good. It works for me every time. It's great. Today I have a pen attachment. So instead of cutting paper, or instead of cutting vinyl rather, it's going to draw on this paper. I already have the file pulled up in the software. It's very basic software. It is even more basic than the most basic stuff. I basically just use it to I bring in a program from the other computer. I have the two network together, and I open the file, and then I tell it to run. Maybe I manipulate its size a little bit, do a little bit of manipulation if I have to, but that's basically it. I open it, I cut it. In this case, I draw it. So I'm going to do that right now. And I would be showing you this on the screen, but again, this is running Mac OS Tiger 10.4, and the QuickTime does not have a screen capture function. So just bear with me a second, and you'll see the action happen right before your very eyes. Okay, and send. So what it's doing right now, and in this case it doesn't matter, and at other times it may, where it's picking and choosing what goes first, gets first, cut, second, and whatever. This is something that I might prioritize. I believe if you're in the layers palette, whatever is the top layer is what's going to get cut first, and then if you have it combined as all one shape, it just decides to, on its own, where to start, where to stop, and all that happiness. Okay. Pull that out, turn this baby off, and now it's on to the electro pounce. Okay, so what I've got is a piece of steel. Let's back this up a little bit. You can see the steel. I've got this set up in the garage, just leaning up against a wall. And our template, a couple of magnets, and then this is the ground wire that leads to the electro pounce, which is plugged into a 110 outlet. There's you can adjust your amperage here. I think this paper is thick enough. I have it resting up near around 80 volts. And so we can turn it on, which I will once I get the camera set back up into the boom. Okay, we should be good there. One thing you do not want to do ever is touch the end of this. once you turn it on. And it's kind of a habit to for an airbrush artist to, after they're painting and they step back to see what they're doing and clean the end of the airbrush. And I ended up doing that one time with this, and it got a pretty good zap. So it's on now. You can touch this, but basically just you run your stylus along the line, and I've noticed that if you pick up a little bit, it makes bigger holes. But for this project, I don't think I'll need to see better than the little holes that it puts right in here. So. We got the template already pounced, drawn and pounced. Panel's been sanded, and all I'm going to do here is try to place this as much in the middle as I can. I have plans for the rest of the outside of this, but for today I just want to set this where I think the angle is going to be good. I don't want it to be super drastic like this. Putting script on a curve is not one of my favorite things to do, but in this case I think it works when you have time to actually sit there and think about it. I don't like doing it on the fly. So anyways, I've got my chalk pounce pad, my Hansi pounce pad. Go visit the good people at Hansi. Now, I have a couple of different versions of a pounce pad, but this is the one that I like the most. You just pick this plug out of here and fill it with contractor chalk. See, you can see it all right in there. Just kind of like shake it up a little bit, and I'm kind of doing like a tap and wipe. These holes are kind of small, so I like to make sure that my dust is getting through. Hence the pouncing and then we'll see what we got here. Now you probably can't see this on camera. I can see it perfectly fine. I will show you. See it right there? Alright, now put this back. What I have mixed up here, I have some ducks, gold size, okay, and a little bit of, I think about 4 drops of, on this particular measuring cup, I've got a little bit less than 1 teaspoon and like 4 drops of old gold one shot. The old gold has a chemical makeup that does not mess with the effectiveness of the gold size. Normally I wouldn't even do that on this panel, but I was not sure exactly how the lights were going to work out as far as glare goes. Most of the time on a sanded panel like this, you can see where your size is at because it's going to be shiny against this sanded surface. So I've got my brush rinsed out. This is a Quinn Mac number 8. It's my friend Paul Quinn out of Philadelphia. Has Mac make these brushes for him. Move some of this junk out of the way so I can get set. And it's a nice brush, it's nice and floppy, which is what you want for script. But we are essentially just kind of coloring in inside the lines. And we're going to be using
If you've ever done any kind of lettering, you know, these dotted lines are kind of random. We're not going to make sure that we follow along exactly inside here. And if I can get rid of some of this glare. Nice bright spot. I'm not a lighting expert. So I'm going to go hand over. I don't need a maul stick. I'm just going to rest my one hand on the other hand and go to town. What I'm trying to achieve here is the most coverage with the least amount of strokes. This gold size is self-leveling, and that's by design. What you want to have is, you don't want to have glops and gloops. Any dust, any hair that gets into this, which is, you know, going to be inevitable, will show up. Anybody who's done any kind of body work and seen shoddy, you know, auto body work, shoddy sanding, shoddy, you see pinholes, you spray over it with silver, and all of the stuff that you couldn't see, you will immediately see. Gold is very much like that. If you see there's a piece of hair in there, the gold will find its way around it, and it'll show it off. And that includes paint strokes, which is why the material itself, and you can see it here, when you don't want to keep brushing over it and brushing over it, because there's going to be a point where it wants to settle into itself. Now you can see this brush stroke here. Eventually, this is going to settle out. It's going to level out and be quite smooth. I just want to make sure that anytime I'm doing this, and I think it's a good idea for a lot of people who are exploring this craft of custom paint, gold leaf, and pinstriping. You know, just be aware of the amount of respect that you pay to the craft. Nothing comes out perfect, but man, there's some cats out there that come so damn close. And in the same way that imitation is the highest form of flattery, all of the guys that I know that do this, they're just, you know, custom paint gods. You know, you try to chase them down, man, you know, and you try to do better than them. It's the same philosophy behind raising kids. You know how much of a screw up you are, and you don't want your kids to be the same screw up you are, and you want to try to improve on the original product. And you know, that's what happens. You know, each generation of pinstripe artist, every generation, next generation of custom paint artist, you know, they come up with new innovative ways of doing stuff. Somebody comes up with something different, you know, like when Ted Turner comes up with that crazy snafu of zigzags, and you know, I gotta be honest, you know, when I see Ted Turner's pinstripe work, I think to myself, this is what Jackson Pollock was trying to do and couldn't. it is it's it's a controlled chaos, and it's something that nobody'd ever seen before, and many people pay homage to. I've tried it myself, and it's odd. You look at it and you think, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of all over the place. How hard could it be to do? And then you try to do it, and you're like, oh, this is going to take some practice. Looking up Toxic Ted Turner, look up that stuff. You'll know what I'm talking about. It's just this strange, beautiful stuff, And then I'm sorry, I'm just writing mid-stroke there. Sometimes it's just not good to talk while you're doing this. And the dead air's got to be filled with something. Let's go up here. I'm trying to keep my beautiful head of hair out of the picture here, but still being on top of the work at the same time. Yeah. And this is all going to get outlined as well. I have not as yet decided what color. As much as I try to plan this stuff out, it still wants to paint itself. I was just doing a private stream with my writer friend out in California. He's helping me. He's writing / helping me think through a comic book that I'm producing, and that's one of the things that I had mentioned was, while I'm in the middle of trying to write and develop a character, you think of something, you're like, oh, this might be a great idea to include in this panel, or or whatever. In other words, this idea that comes to you while you're in the middle of creating, and this is it's no different. And that's where those innovations come from. You spend so much time. Yeah, this is why we don't talk while we're doing this. Toolkit, looking for the ultimate tool. I'll probably get some gold stuck to this. Perhaps I might get lucky. But paint squeegee to the rescue. Another great. I can't have enough of these things. I mean, I keep them around forever, and I chisel the end. I've got a brand new one in there. I've got a nice little tiny pink one for really small work. But there it is. Like I've always said in the past, being a professional doesn't mean you always get it right the first time. It means you make it look like you got it right the first time, and that's how you do that. But yeah, you get so that's one of the reasons that muscle memory is so important, is because if you're using your brain, more brain power than is necessary, just to get through a mechanical stroke, just to do the stuff that I'm doing here, what your brain isn't doing it's not innovating. Okay, in other words, if you anybody who everybody knows this, the mundane things that you do during the day, taking a shower, mowing the lawn, your brain is still at work, but because it's something that you do all the time, your brain has more time to spend on other things. You've got other concerns about, maybe the errands that you're going to run, or some problem that you've got. I could waste 2 hours just enumerating the ones that I've got on my mind. It could be something about your dog or the brakes on your car or why that freaking headlight doesn't work. And then all of a sudden, it comes to you, because your brain is doing extra work because it doesn't need to spend its time figuring out how to do this. Your muscles are doing it. Your muscles, because you practiced, your muscles are just doing it naturally, and now you can magically talk while you paint or think of a new way of doing things. And that's very important. One of the reasons why you want to practice and make sure that you can just do this shit without thinking about it, the mechanics of it, is so that you can think of something new. Your brain will be loosed up to imagine a different way of doing things. Not to say that every one of those ideas are going to be great, but the more muscle memory you have on something like this, the more room your brain has to think of way more awesomer ways to do things. And it could be something as simple as just, there ought to be a product that can A, B, C, D. That's what happens to me. I'll be introducing some of these, at least 2 of these products later. Well, this one, the Spinster, we'll be using the Spinster on this, but it's one of those things. You do the art, and because you're just spending the time. Because your muscle memory is doing it, your brain's not actually working on it, and that's how you come up with, hey, I've got a better idea on how to, turn gold leaf. David Adrian Smith, an absolute effing killer when it comes to glass work and gold work and lettering, like just top shelf black label work. And he's done so much, gold leaf work that he came up with the the name of the thing is going to escape me, but when I saw it, his gold leafing brush, it's a gilding brush that you use to pick up gold with, and the way that he has this thing set up, as soon as you see it, the first thing you think is, oh my God, why didn't anybody think of that? People have been gilding glass the way that he does, literally for over 100 years. And he comes up with this gilding tip, is what it's called. He comes up with this gilding tip that it's one of those things you're like, I can't believe this is one of those most simplest ideas. I can't believe nobody came up with this. While he's working on his stuff, while that muscle memory is chugging along and all 8 cylinders of his standard talent are doing its thing, his brain is actually able to think of a way to make life easier or to be innovative. As a product development, not even as like a new, crazy way of making pinstripes. Like, why don't pinstripes do this, says, Ted Turner. Why don't they do something that no one's ever seen before, like this? And somebody else says, why don't we have a gilding tip that does this? And somebody else says, why don't we have a spinning tool that does this? And, well, there it is. I don't even know if that's considered a humble brag or not. I'm not up to speed on some of these new terms, but, for crying out loud, I want to sell these things. I think they're a good product, so if a humble brag is showing off, then why don't they just call it showing off? Or is it like a reversal, or showing off like it's showing off, but it's like a gadget play version of showing off? Is my head in the shot? Yeah, it is. This is clean hair. I'll have you know. Anybody who's getting the picture of my hair in the shot, I'll have you know that I am freshly bathed, and I I have good phone manners. You ask my mom, she'll tell you. And I do this normally, the bathing thing. I bathe normally and I have good phone manners. It should be said. Chicks dig that. They dig my clean curly hair. They dig my being freshly bathed, and I dare say they dig my muscle memory. Waka waka waka. All right. A little stroke there. A little bit fatter on that one. Okay, and then just this is one little, I mean the big triangle under here. I do dig this brush, man. This is a nice, floppy brush for doing script lettering. I've got some other ones. I got like some John King stuff that I lettering brushes I really like. But I actually tried doing this video before, and as luck would have it, bad luck apparently, I was not able to gild this thing before I had to run off and do my bit for King and Country. I had to go to work. So, yeah, wiped it off. Let's see if I can get this in one stroke here. Good enough. Okay, so this as far as the technique for figuring out whether or not your gold is or your size is ready, because I'm going to be putting this in 24 karat, maybe copper, I'm not sure, it really depends, but I'm going to want to do this here. Now this is going to come off later, but this swatch of size here is has 1 point only, and that's because this is where I'm going to be testing whether or not my gold size is ready, whether the size is ready to be gilded or not. I want to knuckle down on this. I want to test this. I don't want to get any fingerprints or any knuckle marks in here, and that's what that's for. So I'm going to rinse out my brush, get it in some 30 weight non-detergent motor oil, and I'm going to test this stuff later in the next segment. Okay, well, it looks like our size is ready to go. For 24 karat gold, we're not dealing with something super sticky. It's been about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. And this is the knuckle test. It squeals. It should feel rubbery. Okay, you really don't want to have a whole lot of tack to this, so you don't want it to be super sticky. 24 karat gold does not require a ton of stickiness. So I'm going to be pulling out some gold here. I've got a lot of leftover stuff. I never throw away these sheets until I'm absolutely done with them. You can always use them for something. But this is what's considered, this is not loose leaf gold, this is patent gold. So this gold here, it's got a little, it's stuck to the page. Loose leaf gold is, you need the gilder's tip. You open the book and use the gilder's tip, which is, if I find it real quick, I'll show it to you. Just give me 1 second. Yeah. And this is a gilder's tip. You brush this against your face or in your hair, and the oil lets you pick up the gold and lay it down as loose leaf. But that's another lesson for another day. I'm just going to take this and stick it to my, and try to cover as much area as I can. Okay. We'll pull it up. Press a little bit harder on these areas here. Just make sure I got all of it covered. Make sure all these holes get filled. Those are little like holidays is what they're called. Okay, next step, I hope I can find this thing. Okay, I picked this up just so that I could make things a little bit cleaner. You can use a makeup brush. I do have one of those. This one just happens to be sitting in the kit. So we're going to be taking this excess off with this brush here. I'm just kind of this is a keyboard vacuum, I guess, as your keyboard gets dirty enough to... It helps keep the mess down. It doesn't eliminate it totally. Then now from here I can see where I might have some empty spots. There's a holiday there. Just press it in. Holiday there. Holiday there. Try to find as many as you can. And again, this is getting outlined, so you find something around the edges. This little bit here actually really, there's a piece of dirt in there that is like, I can feel it whenever I rub the gold on there. So that might take some extra repair work. There's some right there. Okay, next, we're going to actually use the tool here, the Spinster. Now, as I've explained in other videos, and you can go back and see those, hopefully I'll remember to link them in the description. But the versatility of these sanding discs are what we use for larger, heavier composite leaf. But the beauty of this tool is a couple of things. This is the middle size. It comes with an inch, half inch. Okay, I'm going to use a 3/4 inch. This groove around the side, and each one of these, it comes with a piece of velvet and an O-ring, so that you can fit it right around the tool. And this allows you to work with either composite leaf or with composite leaf or 24 karat gold. Now it's 410 stainless steel, so it fits into this magnetic drill extension. You can put it into any, like Makita. I've got a Craftsman here. And I'm going to start turning this right now. Alright, that's it for this segment. Be back in for another. I decided to put some decoration around the outside. I'm going to use a heavier composite leaf around here, either copper or aluminum. Probably aluminum. I don't want to add too much color around the outside, so just to keep it simple. I thought about maybe, and I might, put some copper on the corners and put the aluminum in the straightaways there, but this is going to be pretty simple. I just got the measurement of the panel in Illustrator, made the graphic, cut it out, and then I cut out this inside part here because I didn't want any of my vinyl or transfer paper sticking to the gold that I already laid down. So I'm just going to use straight ducks. I'm not going to be putting any paint in there to give it some color. I'm just going to mop this in and be done with it.
It's just wavy lines on paper. To measure is to cause action at a distance. The tea leaves of the earth. It's just wavy lines on paper. To measure is to cause action at a distance. The tea leaves.
Test swatch. I think I managed to get my finger in it right there. Alright, that'll level out and probably come back in 20-30 minutes because I want this glue to be stickier than we used for the 24 karat. Okay. Should be good to get some aluminum leaf on here. It's still really sticky. Just open. That I didn't wait too long. There we've got aluminum. Some aluminum leaf. Now this is loose, so I like to do, if I know that I'm going to be, the size of the strips I'm going to be putting this in, I'm going to want to cut it. So let's do that first. Not as delicate as the 24 karat gold, but that it's loose, and that causes a little bit of a problem in handling. So I like to use this paper to really press it down.
Okay, so we're coming to the end of laying down the aluminum leaf, which is essentially, it's thicker, it's more like aluminum foil, which is why we're using the sanding discs to turn this leaf and not the velvet, because it's just a more robust material. Taking this excess off here is it's a lot like a controlled tearing of aluminum foil. You don't want to tear. You want to tear it off like sideways, not so that when you go to peel it off, it'll actually come off the glue if you've got a place that's a little too dry or too cured. And you might even notice how around some of the edges that it's a little rough. We plan on outlining that later, but for right now, what's going to happen is we're going to use that sanding disc right there. Okay, it's a 4,000 grit, I believe, sanding disc, and camera placement not being the greatest. You can see, and this will change soon. You'll be able to see a lot better what's happening. But it's using that that sanding disc to turn this heavier leaf. If I were to use something like this on gold, I would have to wait at least 24 hours before I even tried to get into it. But I tested it out on a fender that I did earlier, and it actually does work. But turning fresh 24 karat gold, 12 karat gold, I believe that's white gold, 16 karat pale gold, that you want to use the velvet with. But here on this heavier stuff, the sanding disc will do just fine.
Okay, so moving on, I want to demonstrate another product that I developed for the pinstripe community. This is the powder lines template. It is a tool to help beginners and also help professionals keep things even, especially when you're working on two sides of a car, two sides that you can't see. The same side. Very often when I'm doing pinstripe repair for different body shops, there might be a design element on one side of the car that the insurance company through supplemental is going to pay to have it put back on the other side. So I will take this grid and put it over that artwork and do the chalk just like this, and then go to the other side of the car and then take a picture of it, flip it over in my phone, and then use the same reference point to put the chalk grid on the other side of the car so that I can then see how big it's going to be, and I don't have to keep walking back and forth across to the other side. So you can see it put some dots and dashes in every half inch, and then as we get out further from the center of the template, 1 inch squares. Okay, so, and this is made of Duralar, which is a solvent-proof acetate. So if you happen to spill some thinner on it, you have a shop accident, you don't have to worry about it shriveling up like cellophane under heat. So it's pretty tough. That one there is the first one that I ever that I ever made. Not the prototype, but the first one that I ever had made in production. And it's never goes everywhere with me. It lasts pretty good. Construction chalk here in this little tool bag. This also comes with it. Comes with a nice thick milled Ziploc bag that you can put the chalk in, and then another one that's big enough for the template. There's a link in the description. You'll be able to see everything that comes with it. Retails for $24.95 plus tax and shipping, so I think it comes out to about $31.05 if I remember. And I'm also running a bundle, so you get the Spinster Turning Tool Solution. You can also get the Powder Lines template at a discount. Let me get rid of some of this stuff here. All right, so I just have this piece of paper over my gold here, so I'm not constantly rubbing on it. I don't know if you guys can see. I mean, you can see we get a little bit of a glare here, but I got to keep this camera out of my face so that I can actually see what I'm doing. So the lines are there, and I am using them. Trust me. But trying to keep, I don't know. I'm no professional filmmaker, that's for sure.
Okay, so our panel has been cleared. It has not been sanded and polished, and that's the step that I'm going to be doing here. I don't know if you can see this. It's probably hard to tell, and you might not be able to see if you, unless you knew what you were looking for. But there's a little bit of a solvent pop to this. If you look at the clear in real life, you see some orange peel, you see a little bit of solvent popping, which tends to happen to things like this that are laid flat and then cleared. You know, a lot of times when you're working on a fender or a tank, it'll be hanging, and the gravity will let the material thin out and run and flow. On something like this, when it's laying flat, which is how this was cleared, the material will want to pool, and when that happens, you get some different chemical reactions that you wouldn't otherwise, such as the clear coat is a two-part substance. There's a clear and then there's a catalyst, and depending on your temperatures, your airflow, a whole bunch of different factors, the spray pattern, is it a lot of material coming out, is it a little bit of material coming out, the clear coat that's on the surface will catalyze top first, and trapping solvents underneath, and so there's so many different factors involved, which is, I'll come right out and tell you, one of the reasons why I have somebody else do this stuff. But here it works out because I wanted to do this sanding and polishing portion of the video, and there it is. So I have some Unigrit 1200 paper, and then I've got some 2000, and then finally some 2500, which is a different brand than Meguiar's. So basically you fold these up into three because they're going to be going around a sanding block. Looks like this. And then this is the side that we sand with. I got clean water with just a little bit of soap in it. Even I'm talking like maybe just a drop or two of some dish soap. So I'm going to let that paper soak in this bucket of water, because that's what we're doing right now, is we're wet sanding. And just let it soak for a little bit, and then wrap it around the sanding block, and I'm going to flatten this out. There's a little bit of waviness, some orange peel, which is normal. And where do I start with the 1200? And this is a Tamco clear. It's very easy to sand. You don't always have to start off with a 1200 sanding paper, but that's what I'm gonna do, because where's my water? Keep a spray bottle of water handy. It might be this. It's not, that's something else. Just sprinkle some of this water on there. So the reason why you want to use a block is because if you use your hand and you go to sand, if you're not sanding it quite right, then you'll end up with finger marks in it, and you don't want to have streaks. You're trying to flatten it out, and this is a nice stiff block. And the holes, you see I'm sanding it with using the wrong part, and the holes help knock down the surface to something flat. So actually, let's do this. All right. This is, you want to make sure there's no dirt on the surface, and you can tell when you come across a piece of dirt because it'll squeal. It'll be rolling underneath the paper. You'll be able to hear it. And if that's the case, then you want to squeegee that out of the way, and that's what we have here. Is a couple of rubber squeegees, so we can see the effect that we're having. Now you can tell here. I'll dry this off a little bit. The difference between the sanded portion and the unsanded portion. You see it's flat versus this glossy over here, and then there's some places around where you can see like a little dirt nib here where things have been flattened out, and other areas are still a little bit glossy, going over the pinstripe outlines. They're going to be a little bit higher. The rest of the surface is going to be a little bit lower, and there's going to be places in between where the sandpaper sort of jumped over the edge. So this is why I like start with the 1200 first, because it kind of gets rid of that. Variation a little bit more quickly, and then we can go into some finer sanding papers and make it easier for us to polish. It can get a little frustrating. Just wrap it around there the right way so that it doesn't come unraveled. Okay. Okay, so I've gone over this once with the 1200 grit, and you can see here there's still some glossy spots here all around the edge. There's some orange peel. There's some spots here in between. So I still need to knock this down here. Stuff across the middle looks pretty good, but on this edge especially, you can see there's a lot of action I still need to take. So I'm going to do that now. So we are basically ready for the 2000. I might stop at the 2000. The polishing compound that I like to use does actually really well with 2000. But I might go ahead with the 2500. And then on like a show finish, vehicle, you're going to put on a 3000 or a 4000 wet disc onto a DA and go over all that. So we will unwrap our block with the 1200. Wrap up some 2000. Get some water. Whoops, and start again. We want to go in generally the same direction too. You don't want to, go in circles. You want your sanding strokes to basically be go in the same direction. And yes, this is a rickety old TV tray, just a wooden TV tray that it works with the shot, we'll put it that way. So I'm going to finish sanding this and we'll come back later maybe with the 2500. All right, so everything's done. I even went over it with the 2500, but you can see it's flat. There's no shiny spots where we saw them before. Okay, we haven't broken through anywhere. Breaking through the clear, that's bad. But there's plenty of material on here, I was assured, and I could tell by looking at it that was the case. So any sanding that I'm going to be doing with 2000 paper, I'm going to be taking off a minimal amount of product in comparison to the amount that was on there. I wouldn't do something like that to a factory clear, because there's hardly anything on your car, but that's for a later thing. So I'm going to go get the polisher and the compound and come right back. All right, final step. I'm using a Flex polisher. Which one is this? It is a L34 blah blah blah. 3403 VRG. It says a 5 pound. This is a lightweight, and the reason why is because very often when you're polishing things like this, or a fender, a tank or something that is not as big as a car, the edge of this can find the wheel can find an edge of something and just throw it right across the room. So you always want to have a free hand to hold the stuff with. Now this is a CSI ceramics polish. I have other compounds that I've used, 3M and the Chemical Brothers. There's a lot of McGuire's, Mothers. There's a lot of 3 and 4 part systems where you start off with a cutting cream and it's rough, and then you go to a rubbing compound, and then a swirl remover, and then a final polish, and that's great. I've found this stuff through Tammy Miller at Tamco. They sell it, and you can find it other places too, but I'd highly recommend checking out Tamco paint for a lot of their other products, not just the stuff like this that they also sell. The clear on this is Tamco, and it's sanded really easy, and it's going to polish up even nicer. This, you use this on a nappy wheel. I like to use it at a high speed, and then you use the same stuff on a foam wheel at a lower speed, and it is literally the only thing you need. Now, if you want, CSI Ceramics does have a final polish enhancer. That bottle is full. I've got a gallon of this stuff, but that D1 polish enhancer I have a little bit of, because I honestly, by the time I'm done using this, I honestly don't feel the extra step is needed, but I have used it a couple of times, and it works out okay. I like to, now this is not necessarily everybody has to do this. Some people like to put it on the wheel. I like to spread this stuff out like so. There's guys out there that are kind of gritting their teeth and grimacing because I'm doing this, then I don't know what to tell you, but that's just kind of how I do things. I just like to make sure there's an even distribution, or an evener distribution. Now I'm going to put this on, 1 is low. I'm going to put this on a 2, variable speed. And let's see what we get from that. I'm wearing an apron. This is going to throw some compound all over the place, probably on my other things that are set up in this direction. I've got some paint bottles and airbrushes and stuff, but whatever. Here we go. For anybody that's new to polishing, I want you to take this one main lesson at heart, and that's this. You see the direction that the wheel is spinning, okay? You want to make sure that your wheel is tilted down so that it's spinning out when you're doing this edge. You do not want to do this and have this edge coming at you, have this side of the wheel coming at you on an edge. It will grab something and it will throw it. So make sure that your wheel is spinning. The part of the wheel that's touching and creating your friction is spinning away from the part. Something else, before I keep going, one of the other things that I really like about this product is that it is formulated in such a way as to reduce heat. A lot of times when you're doing work like this, you spend time. I don't mean that you lay your polisher down in one area, but you are spending time polishing a smaller area than you would on a hood of a car. And you're going back and forth, and there's those little bits of the moments where the metal and the material that you're sanding has a chance to cool, where this actually creates less heat. It creates less friction. So the probability that you're going to cause a problem or burn through or have your heat affect what you're doing is greatly reduced. It's a little bit more foolproof. So that's one of the things I like about that. So continuing. overall, but there is a spot here I need to take care of. I'm going to see if you can see this. Well, the phone wasn't in the way. Right above the purple. You can actually see it between my head and the camera. It's a little cut. I'm going to have to sand that out. It might have been a nice big fat piece of dirt. Also, it looks a little dull around the edges. So I'm gonna get a piece of 2500 and try to take that out a little bit more. All right, and then I'll be back to polishing, and by then I will have thrown on the foam wheel and we'll go at her again. All right, I switched over to a foam pad. I'm gonna turn it. Actually, what I ended up doing was turning the nappy wheel up to 3, which is probably 3,000 RPM. I'm turning the foam wheel down to 2. I've got more compound, a little bit of water, and I slathered it all over the place. So we're gonna go slower on the foam wheel, and hopefully that'll be the last step that we need for this. She should be polished up. Zang. So we're done with the foam wheel. Looks nice and shiny, but the very last step, take some final, that's not a final wipe. It's a this is a car detailer, and I like these. It's not a microfiber towel. It's like a loose terry cloth type thing. I get a bunch of them at the dollar store for well, cheap. It's the dollar store. Just wipe it on. And this basically just cleans off any last remnants, any fingerprints, junk left over by the polisher. Wipe it on. Fold a rag over so you're got an area that hasn't been contaminated with junk, and then wipe it off, and that's that. Super clean. I do not know what I'm going to do with this yet. There's going to be a big pinstripe auction coming up in, I think it's April 4th in Cleveland. So I might put it up there unless somebody buys it first. One of a kind. Finished product here. There's a couple of places that need to be touched up, but who among us? I don't think anything has, shouldn't say that. There's going to be times in your life where it actually, everything does come out exactly the way that it's supposed to, and cherish those moments. They are few and far between. One of my favorite sayings is, yeah, it looks like I caught a couple of scratches down here. I'll take care of that. Being a professional isn't doing it right the first time. It's making it look like you did it right the first time. And by the time I'm done with this, totally, fixing everything, that's what it'll look like. So there it is. Whoop. There it is. Finished product. All right. Link in the description where you can find this tool and both of the tools that were both the tools that I sell. Not every tool. I don't have any electro pounces for sale. I don't sell gold or anything. Who knows? Maybe we invest in that in the future. But the powder lines template, the Spinster, you can find them at ID Crisis Design/merch, and yeah, go check it out. And I will talk to you cats on the next one.
See you later.